Once upon a time, dying in a video game was just a source of frustration. An enemy catching you off guard, a bottomless pit that you just couldn't leap across, various stage hazards that were difficult to traverse around. Dying meant trying again until you ran out of lives, or quarters. But as video games became more story and character driven, death became more than just an inconvenience. Suddenly we cared about the characters who had lost their lives. Suddenly there was no way to press the reset button to try to prevent their untimely demise. After all, we're still trying to undo Aerith's death since 1997. Before we begin, be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays and click on the links in the description to vote on upcoming content. This is still one of the most talked about deaths in gaming, from how devastating the moment is to theories on what it was that actually killed her. In case you don't know the story, here's a quick rundown without getting too heavy into Final Fantasy VII's plot. Aerith is trying to stop Sephiroth, the big baddie of the game, via prayer. As the last in a line of powerful magic users called the Cetra, she's the only one who can put a stop to his plans. But instead of having a holy figure appear above her, it's Sephiroth, with a sword. Yeah, things don't go very well. It leads to what is arguably the most iconic death scene in gaming history. But what makes it so memorable? For one thing, there's the emotional investment with this character. When it comes to the theme of loss in video games, the more attached you are to the deceased, the bigger the impact. This doesn't have to be someone you love. It can actually be someone you hate too, as their death will leave you feeling satisfied. But that satisfaction usually fades. Grief, unfortunately, lingers just a bit longer, not just with the player either, but with the other characters who are affected by that death. This is something that kept being built upon through later installments in the Final Fantasy VII franchise. Advent Children shows how everyone is holding up after the events of 7, while Crisis Core shows a more detailed look at Aerith's relationship with Zack. This makes the whole event even more tragic, as you soon realize that Cloud not only lost his friend, he lost the girl he had feelings for, a girl he himself shares a bond with throughout the course of the franchise.
You came, even though you're about to break. That's a good sign.
Which brings us to who Aerith was as a character. A sweet flower girl who wasn't bogged down by the events of the game, even if she was being hunted down by Shinra. Before that, she was a source of comfort for Zack. And much like the Avalanche group in Final Fantasy VII, she was a source of optimism for him too. On top of all that, she was extremely useful to your party in Final Fantasy VII, from a gameplay perspective, as her healing magic was pretty vital in battle, and apparently vital to the planet as a whole, as she managed to protect it from Meteor even after death. Whether she was your favorite or not, the general consensus about her is this: she didn't deserve to die. Such violent deaths are what we expect for characters like Zack, soldiers of war, but not cute flower girls whose ultimate attack was literally calling on angels from above. Her death was a surprise to basically everyone, not just because of her innocence, but also because she was a member of your team. We've lost major characters before, and continue to do so in other titles, but there's a certain formula for how they die and when. It either happens at the end of the game, so you don't have to figure out what to do without them, or it's someone you can actually save if you play the game correctly, or maybe it's an NPC that you're really fond of. Aerith defied all of those points. She was your main healer, so leveling her up was important, and the stronger she got, the better healing magic she cast. The real kicker is you could have actually maxed her out by this point. While some games have killed off party members before, no one was really expecting it back in 1997. But at the end of the day, there's an even simpler reason why Aerith's last moments are still gut-wrenching to watch: the way the scene is presented to us. Cloud, being controlled by Sephiroth, manages to fight back and not strike the killing blow. It doesn't matter, she's killed anyway. Then there's the sound of the beating heart and her theme song playing, even in the battle that follows. And of course, there's Cloud laying her to rest in the water. Now, we can admit that the graphics of FF7 really don't hold up well, but the emotion of the scene still prevails. The lack of voice acting, the harsh swing of Sephiroth's sword, her body going limp, her theme playing at just the right time, her sinking into the water. Really, that's all you need to drive the point home. You don't really need a loud bang into death. Sometimes it's the quiet realization that hits the hardest.
I think I want to be forgiven. More than anything.
By who?
Admittedly, it feels a bit weird calling something as tragic as a death great, but Aerith's death really hits all the right notes from a storytelling perspective. It's sorrowful but hopeful in a way, as her presence remains with the planet. It affects the characters and impacts the story just as much as it impacts the player and the gameplay. While it probably won't catch anyone off guard today, since it's basically common gaming knowledge, there's still a desire to do as much as we can with Aerith before we lose her. She left her mark on the gaming world and continues to be the character death, which we hail as the greatest of all time.
もう大丈夫だね。
By the way, if you're looking for the death of a certain cowboy who was seeking redemption, be sure to check out our video of the greatest ending of all time. And for more great content every day, be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays. Thanks for watching MojoPlays. Be sure to subscribe and click on the link in the description below to check out our suggestion page and vote on what content you'd like to see us cover next.